Hello and welcome back, everybody, to And the Half Time. I hope you can all hear us, see us, all of the good stuff. It seems to be good on my end, so let's hope that it is yours as well. But welcome back to Enough Talent. It's been a good month, at least, something along those lines. Until I think post major was the last time we did one of these, so it's been a hot minute. We've had a couple of events, been and gone, and of course upcoming as well, which we'll get through. We'll start all of those in just a moment. But boys, it's been a fairly decent little player break and all the rest. What have we been up to? Trav Kickstarters. What's been on the docket since the last episode? I don't remember when it was, but it's been a while.
I went.
Bro.
Oh yeah, fuck yeah! I'm an idiot.
First episode was the last one. Yeah.
See, it was so good that doesn't count as like one of these episodes. It's like in its own category. That's why.
That was our roster shuffle.
Yes. Okay. So player break was the last time we did one of these, right? And we did like basically the bulk of the player moves, pretty much all of them. That really count.
Yeah. I mean, ever since then, of course, we went to Cologne. We shared a bed together.
Yeah, that was a
It
little.
was very good. We definitely did not spoon.
We
We did.
What happens in Cologne stays in Cologne.
It's a motto I live by, in fact.
There you go. But yeah, it was beautiful. I mean, I love the city. Every time I go there, like the area in general near the access is I just really like it. I think it's just really chill, especially like just the nightlife.
I agree.
The weather was kind of bad, unfortunately, this time, which made it a bit more annoying. But it was still really lovely. Like the arena stuff, of course, was just as amazing.
Yeah.
The results, I think, were really good. The games were actually semi-decent too, which helped.
The playoffs was actually stacked, in all fairness. In comparison to like the major, for example, the kind of biggest event before that, we had a pretty good playoffs. Like all kind of the bigger teams playing. Actually, like some cool derbies too, like the Danish one. So.
Yeah, that was a really cool game. But yeah, I loved it again. Saw so many people that I basically see once a year at Cologne. It's unlikely that I usually see them other than that. So it feels special, and it fills my heart a little bit, fills my soul for another 5 days or so. So yeah, it was lovely. Really enjoyed it. Got a few bits and pieces of casting. I did one of VP's games for Thunderpick. We did one of Big's games for Thunderpick.
Oh, you boys did one together, right? Or a couple together?
Yes.
Both of those games, actually. Yeah, both of those games we were on together.
So VP versus
X-Heat.
Oh yes, because they beat a pretty decent team.
That was a banger,
right?
Paladin.
Yeah, it was a great game.
OT in both maps. LFO won that one. Big
yes,
won
they
their
did.
game.
Yeah.
It was after you casted them playing Spirit, actually.
Yeah, that was quite a good game actually. I mean, apart from just like VP just absolutely shit stomped. Oh no, wait, no, that was Aurora. Aurora, they absolutely fucked them. Like it was not even close. And then Spirit in CCT was like that was a better game, but I think it was still 2-0 off the top of my head.
It was a lot of fun doing that, and hopefully we'll get some more soon for maybe North America, maybe for the next EU series. So should be some good stuff there. And yeah, I kicked off the new ECL season for Challenger League, season 46 now. That was NKT versus X-Rare Atom, of course, as Rare Atom don't have organization support anymore.
What
playing
are they
under
called?
the name Cyclone at the moment. 5Y Clone. So I'm calling them Cyclone.
Sure.
And yeah, they're still looking pretty okay, but NKT played particularly well this time, and it was actually a really fun game. They won Inferno 16-14, and they were 14-10 up actually in map 3 Ancient, where NKT
Who won?
Rare Atom came back and won 16-14. So
Okay.
a painful one for NKT, but fun game, lots of clutches, and a lot of talent on show. And Bentet and Gratisfaction still looking like they've got it to some extent. So fun to watch.
There we go. Paladin.
Yeah,
I mean, brother, since your England tourism days.
Well, I had to recover for like a week. I had like this crazy dry cough because we had just drank so many cold things for like a week straight.
Beers, baby.
But I finally made it back, and yeah, just starting to get back into the content grind. I had a couple videos come out, and then of course Trav and I casted quite a few games on Thunderpick. And yeah, I guess we kicked off 4-3, right?
Yes.
I think that's when I came back as well, so that was really exciting, and we should be getting on that soon.
Cough, cold, fuck's sake.
And yeah, until then, we've got a lot of good things to look back on. I mean, Cologne was great. I got to live vicariously through you guys with constant content, which is great. And yeah, the games are great. It was definitely a better bracket than last year. Although last year we did get FaZe Navi, the road getting up there was
Yeah.
pretty lackluster. And
Final made up for it
this,
though, for sure.
yeah, final obviously made up
Yeah.
for it. But this year I felt like we had pretty steady quality throughout every single game, and I was pleasantly surprised. And I think that's kind of what I feel like the rest of the season is going to be like, where we are just going to get stack bracket after stack bracket because
Let's hope.
it feels like the moves are finally gestating for some more orgs to get into competition now.
Yeah, man. Let's hope, honestly, right? I feel like now, especially with the major, that was like probably one of the bigger talking points about the major was just like, oh, the bracket actually was kind of like mid in some ways. You having teams like,
Yeah.
not a slight on these teams at all, but when you got, Apex, Gamer Legion, who else?
Into the breach,
Monty. Yeah, exactly. So like, you kind of like people were like, oh, it's not the big names. Obviously, bring the viewership as well. So yeah, Cologne was good. And I guess my side, bar Cologne, obviously, we'll go get on to Cologne's first topic. But bar that, did a couple of Thunderbit games, which are pretty good. Did CC finals as well last minute. They had a reschedule of the final, and like the night before, I got a ask, can I jump on? And I was like, yeah, fuck it, why not? Like Jackie was busy, Davey needed someone to jump on with, and actually it was actually a really fun cast. We had a good time, and actually a very decent game as well with the VP Spirit. An Epic LAN, of course, the greatest LAN of all time. I went and played there. That was, again, very, very fun. It was myself, I guess for people who work in esports, it was myself and Jackie, the caster, and then some people might know Duck as well, who used to work for Reason Gaming.
I love Duck.
And he does like a bunch of stuff on esports. Lovely, lovely dude. But yeah, it was really, really fucking good. It was really fun. We got absolutely obliterated. My stats are pretty good, in all fairness. Like, I think I topped the stats on my team, so I felt relatively crisp. But hey, I wasn't there to win. Let's just put it that way. And it was very unlikely I was going to win. In the end, Smooya ended up winning, to be fair. So Smooya came, he farmed, got MVP, wasn't even close. He absolutely just dominated everybody.
Naturally.
Yeah. And they were doing it on like about an hour's sleep and copious amounts of alcohol. So I got to give them a lot of credit, man. That is actually fair play. And then yeah, that's been it really. I've kind of had I've got a nice few days off now until I do an ECL game in about a week. So I've got a decent amount of time, and I've just been like,
is that Asia or EU?
EU?
Okay.
I don't know. Wait.
The thing is, this season's been so
no, it's I am
sort of
Sydney.
rush.
I am Sydney Quals.
Okay, well, yeah, fair enough. Yeah,
Right.
I knew it was
I
something
think
ESL.
we both might be on the same page there for at least the first day. But
Yeah.
I think the ECL season's kind of been thrust into the middle of everything. Like there's so much online CS everywhere. Like it's very hard to keep track of what's what where, and I think ECL kind of being in the middle when their season didn't necessarily need to be played, I guess, at this point.
Yeah, especially with the potential CS2 change. That's gonna be the big
tonight. It's coming out tonight, guys. Confirmed.
Yeah, that's the big talking point, right? Is the fact that like, even like me, I'm playing ESEA with my friends this season, and there's something we're talking about. I was like, shit, dude, is the game just gonna update like randomly? Are we just gonna like be on CS2 like midway through the season? Because we technically, obviously, we had our first game on Monday, Trav, which we couldn't turn up for, so we just a forfeit loss immediately. Because so normally how ESA used to work is it would say like, okay, the season starts this day, but the default was at the end of the week. So it was like, let's say it starts like Monday, the default would always be like Friday normally, like Friday evening. So you'd have a few days to schedule games in. Face it, season starts, default day is day fucking 1. So it's like Sunday night. And we're like, okay, cool, lads. Season starts tomorrow. Like, I'm like the captain of the team, whatever. So I'll start like scheduling games in. We check, it's like, oh, dude, like guys, we got a game scheduled in tomorrow, and like it's not even in the period now. Because you got to reschedule within 24 hours. It's past that point. So it's either like we've got to send them an offer and they've got to accept it, or we just have to take a forfeit loss. So we had to take a forfeit loss game 1. Which was cursed. So we
should be around for the next 2, hopefully, though. At least that's something.
Next 3, it looks like. I think, by the way, yeah. We've got like, what is it? Wednesday? It's tomorrow? Was it
one of them is like level 9s, level 8s, and a few level 10s. One of them is like 4K elo, like
not freelo
rats. So not freelo.
Yeah. Well, the thing is as well, because like, so normally with an ESEA, like, well, when it was on ESEA, because it was so easy to sign up, and everyone knew about it like well in advance, you'd always get like so many shitters. So you could like kind of guarantee a good like 5-6 wins just on the back of people being just like so bad. But then this season, there's so few signups. So the people who have actually signed up are all just like mega cracked. So it's kind of cursed.
If we get 3 wins this season, I'll be happy. That's what I'm saying.
3 out of 12. If we can get a quarter, I've been loving life. But yeah, that's what it be. So let's get straight into it. Let's start talking about Cologne in a little bit more detail. And we can run through, of course, how things ended up being. G2 finished first, ENCE, of course, second. Astralis, Vitality, Heroic, Cloud9 is kind of the top 6 there, with Na'Vi and Gamer Legion bringing up the top 8. So overall, final-wise, really fucking good. I'm glad we didn't get a 3-0. That was the thing I was really worried about at the time. It really did in my eyes when we were in the arena. The vibe amongst everybody when it was 2-0 up was like, okay, shit, like, it's just going to be a 3-0. Like, this is going to be like a super quick final, kind of forgettable because it's a stomp, and then that's it. But thankfully, ENCE got a map back and actually made it like a little bit more memorable in that sense. But it was still very well played from G2, dominant from them in the final, to be perfectly honest. Obviously Nico just putting up an incredible performance, but I got to say Imanesi as well, man. Especially like map 1 and 2, like Jesus Christ, like he was just like a joy to watch. Credit to ENCE for again, not only doing IEM Dallas winning that, but then going second place at Cologne. Like in terms of back-to-back events.
Vitality, man.
Yeah, that's
Vitality
consistency.
looked really good. Yeah, I really liked what they showed, and honestly, I don't blame them for getting blown out, especially when you're playing the likes of a Nico and a Hunter and JKS that have been to these kinds of stages before, and you could tell that they were just like clocked out of Nuke, like they were just completely dazed. Deha especially just had such a tough series throughout. And I think it made sense for a 3-0 for sure. I don't know what kind of juices they had in Anubis, but they slowly got back into it, and then Ancient actually looked competitive. There was a world where we got a map 5. But I think there were a couple of good clutches from G2 that took them over the top. But I am really happy with what ENCE showed. I mean, the results that they've been showing over the last few months have just been unreal.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the 2 big takeaways that I've taken from Cologne is that, which I'll just say 3. We can probably get onto every single one of them at some point during our conversation. But time. One is like G2 actually doing the Kato Cologne double, like
arguably the 2 most prestigious events in the calendar.
Absolutely,
bar a major, but then even technically including a major too. So
yeah, it's crazy. And then obviously there's that superb clip of Huxley on the desk with Kassad, and Kassad like making the face at Huxley when Huxley says "fuck the haters" or whatever. Like,
it's like anybody who says like I'm not good at what I do doesn't know what they're doing. He just looks directly at Kassad. Brilliant. That's a perfect response. He obviously takes a lot of shit, but never really gets the opportunity to give it back. So like gold dust. He picked his moment perfectly.
Absolutely.
And credit to Kassad, he took it well. Like you kind of have to.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, he there's no reason why you'd just hate him for that. Yeah, he's a reasonable enough guy. I think the biggest takeaway when it comes to a disappointment for me is that I think that, especially now we have to look at the major and Cologne, Heroic have failed both times quite significantly. Gamer Legion was a match that everyone thought they wouldn't have lost. Shiri put in a masterclass, and so did Emir and everyone else, to be honest, on Gamer Legion. Now we come to Cologne, and they're again in the playoffs, as they should be, in an elite bracket. And we think, okay, they're a good chance of being the finalists here, but we expect they've got Astralis in the first quarterfinal. You'd think, okay, Astralis are not got that, they don't have experience in a big playoff game with the new roster, and they 2-0'd them. Like, Heroic are just not getting these results at business ends of tournaments, and it's worrying in my eyes.
I honestly think this result was worse than the major appearance. I mean, obviously,
I agree.
Result wise, it's obvious.
They lost to their rivals. They lost to their biggest rivals.
But I will say they looked like a shadow of themselves against the Mongols and Monty. Those games were tight, and look, I think both those teams are actually pretty formidable. Like, Mongols really surprised me at this event, and Monty even more so, just by adding a player like Bro after losing Boros. They still look decent, but at the same time, you're Heroic. You're supposed to be considered the number 1 in the world. You're supposed to be considered tournament favorites in a lot of situations, and the fact that it was as close as it was really nerve-wracking. And then against Astralis, I mean, Astralis were playing like the overdogs in that match, to be completely honest with you. Throughout that Ancient, I mean, that Buzz 1v2, That,
Oh,
I mean,
balls of
sure,
steel,
credit
man. Oh,
credit to his mechanics, but that should never be happening. I'm sorry, it should never be happening in the first place. The spacing was awful, and clutches like that happened like so often throughout that series. And it started on Ancient, and as soon as they moved on to Inferno, Heroic were just so mentally checked out that they just couldn't
agreed.
get back into it. And it is insane to me that quote unquote world number one is that just mentally checked out of playoff games. That is
Yeah.
just so worrying to me.
Yeah.
And Gamers 8 is going to be a big like splash of cold water in the face if they don't get their shit together, you know?
Yeah, and we'll come
Yeah.
on to Gamers 8 in terms of the format as well, but that's where you can maybe see things go south for Heroic because they do have these moments of inconsistencies. Also, as well, it kind of quite in my eyes is the interesting thing is it's changing the narrative about Heroic. I remember at the RMR, the big narrative that we were kind of building on the quote unquote desk bit in between games when we were casting is that Heroic are probably every single team in the world don't get upset. They're probably the best or the most consistent about
They are
not getting
consistent
upset.
like that.
And now that's no longer the case. Now we're seeing them actually get upset
Mhm.
consistently and actually in a quite worrying fashion. Not only Gaming Legion now, but Astralis. But I think what you said, Trav, for me is quite spot on. It's not only a loss in terms of, them not going further and them not having an opportunity to win out Cologne, but in terms of the domestic scene, it's starting to shift things again. We're now seeing Astralis maybe become back and start to be seen as the more premium Danish org, which is always for the last few years, which is what has kept Heroic afloat. And of course, with Heroic having all their money issues and quite considerable amounts of money issues as well, where they're in desperate need to attract investors, literally quarter upon quarter. If they then lose the title of being the best Danish team, then why would Danish investors invest into Heroic? Because it's like, well, we could give you money or we could give Astralis money, right? If we're going to sponsor one of you, why would we go to you? Why would we not go for the best? Which is obviously like the problem that you see within like English broadcasts, for example. If you're like on an English tier 2 broadcast in any game, they always struggle for sponsors because if someone's going to sponsor an English event, you just sponsor the biggest one, right? So this is it's a big shift in dynamic. I think Astralis really impressed me. I think they're actually playing well. Obviously, still is a lot of question marks, and probably rightfully so about Borup.
Oh,
Let's not put it lightly. He's playing fucking shit, like so bad.
Oh.
Like we don't have to put it lightly. You don't have to beat around the bush. Obviously, he doesn't have the best roles, but like Jesus Christ, like some of these.
I mean,
Performances
even
were bad.
relative to his roles, it was some pretty miserable
Yeah.
stuff. Like handedly setting back this roster from
He
succeeding
looks out of
well.
his depth, big
Yeah,
time.
but I mean, the thing is, I always think about this, and I'm like, why did they sign Borup, and why did they not sign a player like Esatag, perhaps a
Yeah.
better supportive element? I think it's a money thing, to be completely honest with you. I think
He's a
that
free
they're
agent, right?
trying to hold. Yeah, and I'm
Yeah.
assuming he's cheap, considering that he has nowhere else to go,
Yeah.
and they want to hold on to Blame F, they want to hold on to Device, and they've signed on Stare, right? So I'm sure that trio is
Yeah.
a pretty expensive trio to hold on to, and if you lose any one of those players, you're nowhere going to get this kind of result out of
No.
Cologne.
Agreed.
So you
The
kind of
thing
have to
is,
make some sort of concession with Borup, I feel.
the thing is though, like I wanted them. I actually genuinely wanted them to keep Altex, but those roles wouldn't match,
That's
right?
all
With Altex.
that might have
Yeah.
worked too, yeah.
But like, I agree. I mean, Altex now on Preezy, I believe, with Refresh and Nicodos. So like, obviously they, I guess, sold him from the talent roster. So maybe they got money for that, but they could have kept him, in my opinion, rather than sign Borup. As you say, Borup free agent after Copenhagen Flames went under. Like, fair enough. It's not a bad pickup. It was a slot-in sort of job for Borup, but he's just not really doing the slotting. I guess if you get what I mean. Like, it's just a shame because I think you always think he's been a really good role player on previous rosters he's been on, but I guess when your numbers are that bad, again, you can't just say he doesn't deserve to be on the roster solely by roles. You have to look about how he plays actually in these certain situations. If he's the guy to die for his team all the time, whatever. Like because we know Blame isn't that guy. Like Blame is not that guy, pal. Like he'll never be that guy. So yeah, I think Borup may be the one who has to take those sort of situations. So that does we do take that into account, but at the same time, it is sort of particularly below average. So it's a shame. But I think Astralis can only be happy. I mean, there's no reason to kick Borup if you've had your best result as a roster.
No, not at all.
for a
It's
year.
just it's definitely something that's setting them back if we do want to consider them title contenders. That is the very obvious piece. And I mean, rating is obviously going to be something that people take a look at, but in actual matches in the eye test scenario,
He looks uncomfortable.
he's just not following up with the roles that he's given, like his direct Danish counterpart of Shush, who is always guaranteed a kill, always guaranteed a kill and a half, always guaranteed to get information for
So
his team.
reliable.
Those kinds of intangibles I don't see in Borup. I definitely see like he's a step below in a lot of regards, and that's my issue. I mean, you can have all the shit ratings you want, but if you're not able to hold up your end of the bargain as a side anchor, then you're doing something wrong.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's one of those things like you want to give him the benefit of the doubt because it's still quite early, but at the same time, it's such a major event that it's tough to give him the benefit. I think we now look towards kind of like pro pop, like pro league is probably the final point where we then say like if he's still up until now until pro league, if he's still in a really rough spot, then maybe there's conversations to be had, or maybe like when they look towards the player break at Christmas, for example, when then think, okay, cool, we're going into 2024 into a new game, maybe do we try and bolster this because you actually now got an incredibly good core. Like realistically, like on the flip side, I think about this quite a lot, like how Sprout kind of fucked it. You know, like they had such a good team in terms of the individuals, and they could have got so much money out of Stare, like, you know, a year ago or whatever, when Astralis came poking and prodding, and they had the whole meme like no or whatever, and then ended up like absolutely fucking it and having to sell them super cheap. But they got a really good core, right? So I think that's the big thing is like if they got a really good core, then the pieces around it aren't pulling their weight. That's when you start getting quite worried. So I think probably I would say post Pro League, that's when maybe conversations start to be had. Not the easiest fill, but I don't think S-Tag's a bad like call by any means. But at least we know we can like slot in A, basically anywhere, and B, at that level as well. I think that's the big thing. Like obviously Borup can play those roles. It just seems like he can't play them at the level because he just mechanically isn't there, or confidence-wise isn't there, and that's where I guess maybe look towards some of the upper management. But I mean, at the same time, how well the device play, for example. I mean, like, which is so good. It's so good to see him back, right? I mean, like he is obviously quite a lovable character, and he's like such a such a well-respected player within the scene. As everyone says, he's the Orpa's Orpa, right? Like that's what he is. But you could just see these like flashes of brilliance back from him. So it's really good to see him back and actually playing at the level we know he can play, and actually happy, it seems, at least doing what he does. This also just reminded me because you mentioned Blame F, Trav, but a random guy on my friends list who I played like 1mm with about a year ago. His profile picture was the picture I took of Blame F, where I was like, "Oh, don't sit in the front row," like that like fucking like shoot like don't sit in the front row. And he like comes online, he goes on CS, and I'm like, oh my god, like that's my picture. And so I reply, I like message him like, oh, like nice profile picture, man. He was like, oh, cheers, like cheers. I was like, oh, like where'd you get it? He was like, just some random guy on Twitter. He has no idea where I am. Like, he has no idea. he hasn't put two and two together. I had no idea it's my picture. Yeah, but that's I just didn't tell him. Like, I just like left it to us. Oh, nice, sick.
We had way too much fun with that massive Blame F cutout. I think that's like those small little bits and pieces that were in the that they gave us in the Cologne crowd, like the face masks, and, like the big cutouts. Like
those face masks are cursed, man. Oh my god,
I've got a Zyro one. I want to get it. I've got a Zyro one next door. I want to grab it.
Oh man,
they are cursed.
I saw a Hobbit one. I saw the Hobbit one on the camera, and I was like, Jesus.
Like just like with those eyes that are really wide, which are way too wide, like it's just spooky.
It's hilarious.
Oh my god,
it's massive.
Bonjour, motherfuckers. It is me, Zai Wu. Maui's shaking in his boots right now.
That is true.
Oh yeah, these are like, my voice sounds fucked in this, doesn't it? These were like the small things is what makes Cologne so fucking good. Like easy now, like it's the best event I've ever been to. Like it's not even close. Like I've been to obviously 2 different majors now, and then obviously Cologne. It's not even close. Like Cologne is so ahead. I'm actually kind of annoyed that I didn't go earlier. I was meant to go in 2018, and I didn't go. And then 2019, I kind of said to my mates, "Oh, I'd love to go. Should we just get a little thing going?" And then we kind of just left it too late, and before we knew it, it was like, yeah, just like we couldn't go. And then COVID happened. Post-COVID last year, I think I was working like some Valorant event, I'm pretty sure. And also just didn't even think about going because I was like, it's not a major, so I don't really care. and then I only went this time because Trav's friend dropped out like super last minute, and the ECL season got pushed back. Again, I probably wouldn't have gone if the ECL season was still on because it might have clashed. But yeah, so good. I'm gonna go next year. Like, not even a second thought. It's so worth it. Like, easily the best of them. Met so many cool people. It was a really good time. Won this shirt as well. I'm wearing the Cloud9, the New Jersey. This wasn't on the live stream, but like, so our good friend Darth Mike comes over, and me and Brandon are sitting next to each other, and he's like, right, we need like halftime content. Like, do you boys want to come do something? We're like, yeah, fuck it, like, sure. And he's like, how's a push-up contest sound? And we're like, oh, like, sure, but I don't expect any miracles here. Like, I've only just started going back to the gym. Brandon's actually been working out. Like, for those who maybe knew Brandon at the start of his like career, I was gonna say about like a year and a half ago to now, he has lost like so much weight. Like that I'm like incredibly proud of what Brandon's done. So he's grafting so well. But it's still, right, you know, both of us like, oh, for fuck's sake. But we did it. And then I won a free jersey. So I got the Cloud9 one because it just looks like really fucking sick.
It's very nice.
Clean. Yeah, it's clean.
It's very nice.
Cool.
And talking of Cloud9, I'm going to say that for me, for them to make playoffs as they did and then play in the playoffs against Vitality with a cold Axile, this is my only game. I'm saying right now, they are my favorite team to like just to keep track of. I'm so excited by what they could do in the next few months. I love this squad. And with Exile, if Axile was healthy and not healthy, if Axile had his visa sorted sooner, then I reckon that I would have given Vitality a much harder game because this Vitality wasn't really up to scratch as the Vitality we saw from maybe previous events. So I mean, I think they're fantastic, and I can't wait to see more of them.
When they were announced, the top 3 in my eyes, what I said, and I now even more so. I just love what I'm seeing from this team. They just look so fucking cool.
The bones of this roster really just work already, and you could see that even with Buster in the lineup, the ideas that Electronic has, and you can see that if Axile was in this situation, how different would this roster look? You could see just how they would just build in terms of consistency as the tournament went on. And granted, Gamer Legion did give them a tough time, but they still pulled it out. And you could just see how clutch they are. I think it was maybe Perfecto and Shiro. Every time that they were in a clutch, they would have some insane 2v3s, 2v4s. And I'm just imagining you throw Axile into that mix, man, think about how many like man disadvantage situations they could just dig themselves out of. I can just see already tweets coming out of like them winning the most 4v5s as a roster because of just the firepower that they have. And that is definitely going to translate to map pool, where they can play completely other maps that are nowhere in their pool and just get random 2-0 wins because they're just so good. And as of right now, they've only really practiced Ancient. They couldn't get to play it against Vitality. If they did, I actually think they could have taken a map away. Yeah. But I think the sky's the limit for this team, man. I'm just so pumped. Like, I mean, the signs are there, and there's proof in the pudding as far as what they showed at Cologne too.
Yeah, when you look at if you just break down the individuals as well, that's what makes it so scary. You got Perfecto, arguably the best support player that there is at the moment. I mean, obviously there's a couple of arguments from Heroic, but at least in that top 3 conversation of support players in the world, you've got.
I think CIS is probably number 1.
Oh
like,
yeah,
as far as options go.
Yeah. And then you look at Axile 2022 best rifler in the world, and like absolutely deservedly so as well. You got Shiro, top 3 players in the world, and of course top 2 maybe now Orpas in terms of if you can keep the consistency.
Possible, Simple's not there at the moment.
Yeah, exactly. Really. There's at least an argument for it. I mean, obviously Manessi's playing so well, so maybe even Manessi comes up and takes that. So, but yeah, that's what I mean. Like they just, and then also Electronic in his longevity has been considered one of the best riflers so many times. So there's so much to love about this team. So I've got incredibly high expectations, but I think they're a team who would thrive under those expectations. They know as well that they've got incredibly high expectations. So I'm really fucking looking forward to what they come about. On the flip side, I'm kind of not looking forward to Na'Vi. I'm not convinced just yet. After seeing them, they kind of just look, I don't know, like Ima didn't really look comfortable a lot of the time for me. He just looked lost, especially like obviously like in the early stages, you know, right at the start of the tournament. It always kind of looked like Ima was just so it's uncomfortable. Obviously, it's so different to Gamer Legion, where a lot of Gamer Legion was let's make Ima play well. Essentially, you know, this is our kind of I'll give the credits to you, Paladin, because you're the one who was telling me this about the stuff about him being third in on T side. So I mean, he was like, fighting guys with 20 HP, and having like really good rolls when it came towards the CT side as well. So he'd always get these kind of inflated stats, and he looked so good. But in Na'Vi, just I don't know, man. I'm not fully convinced. JL seems like he fits in quite nicely, especially personality wise as well.
Yeah,
it seems like he's actually slotted in quite nicely.
What a really good thing about that was they were joking a lot. Like, old Navi were not smiling and playing. This current Navi are smiling and playing, even if they haven't got the results yet. So,
which was a big what if, right? Is how would the culture work on this team? And at the very least, that works. I do agree with you, Neo. Like, Emma looked very, very out of place on this roster, and you could see just when he doesn't have resources given towards him, he looks like just a fish out of water, and he doesn't know how to produce frags in a very different environment. And maybe that comes with time. That is something that we suggested, that if you gave him enough time, perhaps he could get slotted into it. He seems like a smart enough player to be able to do that. But as of right now, it just isn't cutting it. And
agreed.
I mean, we've seen the numbers that are floated around for these two players' buyouts. Like, they're really gonna have to stick through this, man. Yeah, something ridiculous like that. I think they totaled to about a mil plus or something like that.
Well, I heard another number. Just this is a comment from someone who doesn't work in esports, so it could also be complete bollocks. But apparently, Alexi's was like in the millions. So,
oh goodness.
Yeah. Apparently, I mean, a couple. So
I've seen this perspective taken from many people, and I think I'm kind of indoctrinated into it as well, where people are thinking that Navi is kind of just planning for CS2 entirely and planning for peaking at the CS2 major. And since this whole project of becoming international is such a big undertaking, that they're going to basically play the long game here and try to make a system that works, try to see if Alexi B is the solution. I mean, obviously, jury's out on whether he is the solution or not, but give an opportunity to an international IGL to work with the pieces like Simple, like Bit. And, I mean, all things considered, Bit didn't look too bad. JL looked pretty good. Simple looked comfortable, at least. He had some pop-off games here and there, which we weren't even getting on the previous Navi iteration. So there are signs. Yeah, so there are signs there. And so for me, it's like, I don't really care what Navi does for the next 6 months. Like, genuinely, I'm kind of like writing them off in my head. If they make a pop-off event, cool. But if not, I already know what they're working towards. At least judging from how Blade is talking about this team, how Simple's talking about this team, their eyes are not really set on trophies now. They're talking about trophies in the future, and that's kind of where I peg them as a team.
Do you think they get top 6 at any tournament the rest of this year? Top 6.
I mean, with how top heavy we are right now, I don't think they do.
I don't think they do. I think G2 will be there, Heroic will be there, Vitality will be there. They're like guaranteed. I think Cloud9 will be there. Ents will be there. Yeah, and then that's 5, and then 6th. Who else you can whack?
FaZe could scrape through.
Astralis are playing well. If Astralis keep up that level of like form from Cologne, then I think there's so many more teams that just look more well-rounded than Na'Vi right now. So, but then I don't know. I just can't see a world in which this team, at least right now, looks at the CS2 major and is like confident, like like.
I definitely don't think they'll do anything with this 5-man unit. It's more like they have a core to work with, right? Yeah, I think they'll need 1 or 2 changes that I think they'll definitely make eventually.
Minus Alexi B.
Yeah, I know. Our #1 fan here is definitely hoping for that move. But I think there are other moves that could be done too that could make this team better.
Well, minus Emma is probably the other one that people will like have at least floated in some way. But then again, I love, like, I always love, this is a thing I love and hate about Twitter. You know, people will come and be like, oh, minus Lexi B or minus Emma. Like, you know, motherfuckers will come through saying these, right? And offer absolutely no alternatives or solutions. I mean, I'm motherfuckers, to be fair. I am motherfuckers, but in all fairness. But it is true, like, who, IGL-wise, who they pick up? Fuck knows. If someone says Glade to me, I'm going to sock them in the throat. And then, like, who else is there? There's no one.
It's a poaching situation. It has to be. That really is the only alternative.
I think in my mind as well, like, a lot of people would look at Navi and they would look at them, okay, they're the premium Ukrainian organization. They have Simple, they have Bit. They are the 2 men you want to keep around on this roster and to keep it, like, you know, keep the heart there with Blade, I guess. But I know a few people who have just completely fallen out of love with Navi purely because they've gone international, and
They lost their
purely because
identity, in my eyes.
they've got no identity anymore. I think that people would be more in tune and happy with perhaps changes to Navi if they stayed UK. They can't go to Navi Junior. They've got players who were born in fucking 2008. That's not going to happen yet.
2008.
Don't throw that number. Don't throw that number around. Goodness me.
They've got 2 players, like one born December 2007 and one born June 2008.
Mate,
His
that
name's
feels
Frozik,
like
I
it
believe.
feels like Frozik. I didn't realize he was that young.
Frozik.
Oh my god,
Yeah.
that feels like it was like 5 years ago.
June 2008. So you can't go to Navi Junior.
Oh.
There are some a lot of
Horrible,
thing is that there are a lot of pretty decent tier 3 teams
We old
creeping through. Like there's that Laser Cats team. There's still the
Hickler.
Bait
That
Boys,
NPL
of
guy
course,
on Bait's pretty good.
the NPL guy on
honestly,
Bait.
I'm not. He's been
They've
volume
got- Why not take a gamble on making Captain Kirka your fucking
Captain
IGL with some
Kirka.
really
Yeah.
good beat
I
pieces?
actually like Captain
Keep it
Kirka.
Ukrainian. I think that would
Yeah.
be so much cooler. I mean, there's so many teams that we're seeing now, like these IEM Sydney's, like all these big open qualifiers that make it to the playoff stage. You just have like Kvem, Kvem
Oh
from
yeah,
Ikla.
yeah,
He's
Yeah,
a
he was good.
baller.
yeah.
he's
Graham is
really
actually
good.
talented. I mean, to be
And
fair,
that wouldn't
they
be a
built
huge
around
buyout,
him,
I don't
right?
think, either, right? So
Probably
I don't
not.
know. I just think there are definitely options to keep it Ukrainian and keep that. I mean, obviously they are still Ukrainian. That's fair enough, but not overall. It's an international team. It just doesn't feel right. Maybe they win or not. If they win, it still won't feel right. I don't know.
I still think they've
Yeah.
lost a lot of the bulk of their fan base in the sense that like they've gone from being just this like legendary organization who the only organization who's been at every single major, all this, right? And then like you said, having that kind of Ukrainian backbone, or even to a degree like. Not even just Ukrainian specifically, just like CIS, right? Like that's kind of been them. They've always been the premium CIS, / Ukrainian team going around. And now, of course, not having that means that like a lot of those fans, it seems at least from what you see on Twitter, have migrated over to Cloud9. They've actually gone with them and been like, well, these are our guys we're rooting for now. And obviously, like I'm kind of with them. Like I've always been like a huge fan of just CIS Counter-Strike, like Russian, Ukrainian, whatever. Always been like a massive fan of it. And now I have a much higher inclination to watch Cloud9 games than an RV game.
Yeah. Don't get me wrong. I love that's the thing I mentioned when Navi made these moves. I love JL. I thought Imma was really good despite the role, favorability toward what he does on what he did on Game of Legion.
You can't knock the stats, right? He played well.
You can't knock the stats.
So.
I like JL. I like Imma. I actually still part of me likes Alexi,
I hate
but but. All on the same team together, no. I think JL's the only one that can work at the moment for me. And obviously I have to see how it works long term. They might win stuff again. Don't get me wrong. I'm very willing to be wrong on that one.
Mm-hmm.
But the only piece that really works for me in my mind is JL.
I think Navi is
such a surprise. Like it'd be so out of left field if they were to
for
win
sure.
now. Like,
but in my eyes, I think Navi is aware that they would lose a huge hit in their fan base, and I think in their eyes, it's like, if we don't win, then we're gonna lose the fan base anyways. So we might as well try to rebuild and get back to contention status, and maybe we can get the fans back. It's such a Hail Mary, and you gotta respect at least just the fact that they are doing such a radical move altogether.
Yeah.
But at the same time, there is a boundary of like just foolishness and boldness, and I think we're very closely teetering to the side of foolishness the longer we go on, and they're gonna eventually have to put up results somewhere. Until we have to just brand this entire experiment just a bold-faced failure. One experiment that isn't a failure, though, I was really impressed by Mao's this tournament. I was really, really impressed. Yimfat, although he didn't look as comfortable, everybody else looked in tip-top shape throughout this tournament. I don't know how long towards these forms going to last. I don't care when Shuei is calling a great game. Frozen's looking just locked and loaded, and Zershin is now back as well. And I think that core is just so good right now that I think that they can do some crazy. I think sky is the limit for this org. I'll definitely keep a watch out for them.
If Jimback gets comfortable, game. Like that's a genuine.
Sure.
That then becomes a top 6 contender team, right? If if everything else is the same, and then Yimfat joins up and actually looked uncomfortable on the stage as well. Even when you saw him in the environment, I think it's incredibly high pressure for what is actually a child.
Yeah, it's just like his first LAN, right? So
yeah,
your
16.
first LAN being Cologne
Yeah.
is pretty ridiculous.
It's fucking
He's
nuts.
the bro is 16.
Yeah.
Like, as I said,
Yeah.
not even that much older than Frozik, the Frozik I just spoke about, right? Like, it's
Yeah.
just absolutely insane.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think, as you say, they're set up for CS2. They're set up for the future. I think maybe the only expendable piece that you'd have to worry about could be Torji if he doesn't step up like he did in Cologne a little bit
AWPers
more.
are abundant though, which is the real big positive.
Yes.
Exactly, and I think you could just hold on and just wait for a long period of time, save money, maybe sell off some of the NXT players, make a bag there, and then as soon as like you're getting to the RMR stages, you just slot in an opera. You buy like just some crazy good opera that's on the
Zorte's
market,
still chilling
and you
around.
just and you could just fly through the ranks at that point. I don't think it's going to be very difficult for a player like Shuhei to integrate a new opera in the team. I really don't.
Did you say Zorta, by the way, Neo?
Yeah.
He's on BetBoom now.
Oh yeah, of course he
right.
is. Yeah, I mean,
True.
I keep forgetting about that team. But obviously, in all fairness, they're actually playing really well. I didn't catch
They're
any
really
of
good.
the.
I'm so excited to watch them play in the Sydney quals.
I didn't catch any of the open
That's cool.
quals because I was working. But I actually, in all fairness to them, the results wise, to make close quals of Sydney on your first run, and open quals are fucking brutal. So actually, all credit to them. They're looking pretty good. And then obviously, then there's like fucking victory, whatever they're called.
Victory
Zigzag. Victory zigzag.
Yeah.
But
but
get me out. But
just-
can I just go back to what
yeah.
we were saying very quickly? Neo, you like Paladin just brought up Mouse NXT, right? They actually have, I believe, they've let go of QQ and sold him on.
they have.
So that's
yeah.
one already they've done, and they've got the guy that you really like, Neo, Syra.
Oh mate,
Syra,
Syra.
yeah.
Oh my fucking god, this guy. I'm not joking. I'm so confident from watching him in a blast qual like 3-4 months ago. Maybe he was like 15 at the time, playing for a team called Proserpia, which is owned by Nicholas Bentler.
Oh god, yeah.
Who have now shut
Yes,
down because
Bentler,
Nicholas Bentler just pulled out all the money because he didn't really know what esports was. But he was playing on a team called Proserpia, and playing this blast qual, and he was going toe to toe and just out aiming tier 1 guys. I can't remember who they played in that qual, but like there were some decent teams. Even them making it, by the way, was like a massive thing. They beat like teams like Masonic and Ecstatic. Oh no, Ecstatic were there as well, and he fucked Ecstatic, which granted, depending on how you feel, sometimes not that hard. But like they made it through the Danish qual. I'm so confident. Oh, I just broke this. I'm so confident. At some point,
it just popped. It just popped mid sentence.
Oh wait, it's a sticker. No wonder it popped. Yeah, I'm so confident by that he will be tier 1 at some point. Like I'm so confident because he was incredible in this tournament. I was like, Jesus, like this kid is like nuts. Put on incredible stats, just out aiming everybody. And I was like, how good actually is he, or is he in a kind of a similar vein we were talking about? Is he being set up? Like, is he kind of just getting really inflated fights or whatever? So I went back and watched a couple of demos from the qual itself to see how he did, and he's just so smart for how young he is. He's only now 16. Even still, he played that missed games of Lofoten or whatever the fuck it's called, whatever.
Yeah, the academy thing.
Farmed at that thing. Did so damn well. First ever LAN he's ever played on, and I think they got like a top 4, and he was like I'm pretty sure he was highest rated player of the whole tournament by like a fucking long shot. He ended up getting like a 1.43 on LAN or something like that. Nuts rating. Continues with Mouse NXT. Like I'm so certain he'll do well. And I honestly really think that there's even a world that in a later date, when he gets towards like 18 years of age or whatever, and if someone from ours gets poached, for example, or if they're in need of a rifler, I think he's the first person they look towards. I think he genuinely can play at tier 1 level in the future. I don't think maybe not just yet, but I think at some point down the line, I think he will. He'll either be picked up by like a premium tier 2 team or a premium tier 2 team of money. Where I'm looking at like Preezy, for example. They seem to have bags of money. I don't know where from, but they come out of nowhere with like an actually quite expensive team. So Preezy, for example, who just seems to have bags of money. So he goes like a team like that, or you either get the call up to Mouse at a much later day. I'm talking 2 years time or whatever, kind of something like that. Or gets picked up by another, like, if a Charlotte's ever needed a rifler, for example.
Yeah.
I'm so confident he could slot in, like, to big teams.
Yeah. Funnily enough, Preezy are literally playing BetBoom right now in CCT, so that's actually a vaguely interesting game. Right now, it's CT Ancient for BetBoom, and they are 3-9 down.
Oh,
So
that
good
Preezy
stuff
team
for
on
Preezy.
paper just kind of looks mid, but then at the same time, like they could actually end up just being okay. Like actually, like,
it's because Nikodos at that level is just that's
he'll
at
farm
that
at that
level.
level, 100%.
Yeah.
Maybe even
makes sense.
Refresh might get some confidence back again, right? And just like play
Who
like.
knows? I mean, he's 12-6 right now.
There
so...
we go. There we go. So as far as
There you
confidence.
go.
Then.
But yeah,
I mean,
I agree with those sentiments that you said for sure.
At that level, Zorta should also farm as well. Like he should be on some incredible because he was playing really well.
Well, he's
like,
15-7. He's
There we
15-7 right
There
now,
we go.
3-10 down.
There we go.
Yeah.
So
I was gonna
yeah.
say, I will incidentally say about that. We're talking about farming. Just from talking about seeing BetBoom play and beat one win, Nafany had an insane 1v2 at like 14-13 or something in that
No
game to
longer
win,
a fraud.
basically win them that game.
Yeah.
And I think just the eye test of BetBoom, Siren and Chiron are just cleaner than everyone else at like in open qualifier level. Like it's actually kind of insane. So
Well,
I
I
really
mean,
think they can do some good things.
We all. I mean, pardon, you may not, but Trav, I know you will. Crifes, of course, he played within UKCS.
Yes.
Bit of a UKCS legend. It seems to be doing really well now as well. Done a decent run in the open quals. He beat Big, funny enough.
Yeah, he did.
With Sensei. After being dropped by Big about 3 days
Oh, I
prior.
I saw that clip. Yeah.
And he had like a naughty 4D one tap thing on B-type Vertigo. Christ is playing hella well recently, but that's not the guy I'm talking about. But I was speaking to Christ, to Rory, and Rory was saying Chiron is like not even close, like the best player he's ever played with. Like it's like just like how mechanically good he is. Obviously, we all know about it. We know like he can play incredibly well, but it's just like how smart he is. Like he just outcalls everybody. Like he was just so good. So they made on that mix called Portugal for a while. Funny, there was no reason behind the name, just Portugal. But they did actually quite well. Like they were farming in open quals. Yeah, so I still think Chiron's got something in. I just think obviously he was kind of fucked on VP. I think obviously there was definitely stuff behind the scenes which you just didn't know about.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that team looks on paper really good. I'm actually quite excited. Also, I think the biggest thing about it is that they also have like funding and backing. I think that's also just like another thing which is like really big for them. Just to have like support coming through is like a massive thing. Obviously, you got kind of two guys who've played tier 1 level for at least a pretty consistent amount of time, and then Nafany and Siren, right? And then you've got kind of the two youngsters who look like they could find form again and should be like really, really good in that of Zorta and Chiron. And then Danitsu, I don't know as much about. I'm not gonna stand there and lie.
My friend Enes has played against him or played against him, I think, and with him at very high level face it, and he thinks he's an absolute baller. So
well, there we go. Yeah, like I mean that team obviously they wouldn't, with all the choices you have in CIS, they wouldn't pick him up if there wasn't a reason behind it, right?
Absolutely.
So I don't know. I think it could be a really good team.
If you look at it now, like look what Fours have instead. Fours have Tinir, the Belarusian guy, who's very good. But they got Elian, who was kind of meh when Entropic fell apart.
I'm not a huge
Result and Shelfie, who and I love both Result and Shelfie. They're both very good. But Stinix as well, who hasn't really shown anything necessary. He's only 18, so I'll give him his fair due. He hasn't really had any history on a team like Fours before. So of the two, I think BetBoom have definitely come out better. And I kind of asked the question, where the hell is Jerry? Because I miss him already. Where's he gonna pop up again?
Huge buyout apparently.
Right.
Simple as that. It's just like monstrous buyout. I think. Well, this was I found this like it was a HRTV article from COVID, but someone inquired about Jerry and his buyout was like 1-point-something million. So
oh my God.
it's probably
these buyouts are just so ridiculous now, man. It is just like unreasonable. These players do not. I mean, there are no player there's no player in CS right now other than like maybe like Simple and Zywoo or Device that are even like in the realm of that conversation. I just don't get it. Like
I think there's 5
orgs are getting.
I think you got Simple, Zywoo, Device. In terms of name value, then Nico, and then the other one I think is Manesi. I think you can probably, I think they're the only 5 in my eyes, off the top of my head, that you can be like say like name value, brand value, and ability get them over that million mark. Anyone else, if you put $1 million down, what are you doing? Like,
it's just ridiculous to me that like orgs are now getting in the way of other. That's a situational thing. I think I wouldn't like
on a piece of toast, give or take.
Yeah, probably. But I don't know. It's just like it's getting in the way of just like competitive rosters at this point, where I mean you're not even getting anything back in terms of competitiveness on your like original team. Like Forza is not a competitive team anymore.
No.
And you're just gonna hold Jerry hostage? What? You're not gonna get anything out of this
He's
roster.
not even
And
playing for
you're
you anymore. Like, I don't know. Like, why don't you just let him
and,
IGL for more if you're going to keep him hostage like
and
that?
and dude, this guy has been so honest to you and like has been loyal to you.
5 years,
There were
right?
so many situations. There were so many situations where Navi came knocking, where VP came knocking and asked, and Jerry said no because he loved Forza so much.
And he can pick
And
his
this
own
is how
players
you
on
repay him.
fours. Yeah.
This is how you repay him. You
At
put some
least he's
obscene
25.
buyout.
At least he's 25. He's not old. Like,
I
Exactly.
guess, but
he'll be
like,
back.
I mean, his heyday was like 2-3 years ago, where like all these premier orgs wanted to snatch him up, and now he has a chance to like. I mean, obviously, IGLs from CIS are pretty rare right now, like good ones. So you'd love to have a player like him on the roster, on your roster, and you can't because your original org is just being like pretty much a dick at this point. That's just I don't know. I just feel like that's shitty. It happens in Brazilian
Yeah.
CS2 and it's happening in CIS Counter-Strike. It's just ridiculous. Some of these numbers are just ridiculous.
Well, yeah, I mean,
agree.
speaking of ridiculous numbers, right? The Fallen one was pretty fucking insane. It
Oh,
was like
yeah.
600k.
I mean, I guess we it was actually 700, I think.
Oh my god! For a guy who
we could
said
talk
about
about
6
Furia.
months ago, by the way, oh, I'm retiring 2023. This year, I'm retiring.
Yeah,
Like, I'm going to call it. Then it gets bought for $700,000. Like, just make it make sense. Like, this is where people talk about like the esports winter, right? This is where like as much as people on Twitter like to have a go at individuals like Thorin and Richard Lewis. This is where they're making complete sense. This is where these guys are speaking facts when they are. As much as people want to call it like doom and gloom or whatever, it's called realistic. It's just realistic. Like you even look now. Look, we've already spoken about an org like Heroic, but look at fucking FaZe. FaZe are burning on average 60 million a year. Is they're just losing like as an organization. What was the other one? Was like
I mean, they're getting sold at this point.
Yeah,
Like,
TSM apparently have about 2 months of money left to work with. No, not TSM, sorry, Sentinels. Sentinels are about 2 months of money to work with. And are like begging for investors. Like this is where like you just see like this stupid money, where it's
and
no
the
longer...
craziest part is it's not even a good move.
No.
Like, I understand you spending this much money, but it's not even a good move.
Yeah.
And like, that's what's the most upsetting thing of the whole thing. It's like, who cares? I mean, like, if you're making money moves and you're like winning championships or contending for championships, whatever, cool, good for you. But as you said before, this guy was on his way out the door, like period, out of the game, period. And now you're paying 700k for him.
It's just
I don't even think
delusional
it's
money.
I don't even think your brand is that. I mean, it is massive. Don't get me wrong, but I don't think it's massive enough to pay that much money. Like, I don't think you're getting as much in return. And clearly, you're seeing the amount of clashes that Gary, Art, Fallen are all having on the server.
Yeah.
They're so discombobulated in terms of cohesion. I mean, T-sided utilities, basic smokes being missed, basic flashes being missed. It was some of the career worst, lowest ratings for some of their stars.
Yeah.
Obviously, they have, certain tragedies happening within their family. But at the same time, there's some players that shouldn't be affected by it, that are being affected by it. And at some point, you have to say, like, what are we doing here? And
This team
I know
ain't
it's
gonna do
early
anything.
doors, but the open qualifiers looked very bad for
Yes,
Sydney,
yeah.
and Cologne looked distinctly bad for Furia as a whole. And blame is gonna have to be dropped on him eventually. Is all I can say. You
Well, that's
have
the
to you
point.
have to blame him at some point, and it might not be now yet, but I'm already starting that narrative in my head that something is afoot.
Yeah, I mean,
Do you
when you look at
wanna-
traditional sports as well, just to touch on this, so it's like, for example, when Ronaldo went back to Man United, right? Like the move in every essence is like bad. Like he's a washed player. He actively makes his teams worse, right? But like it's just proven statistically when he's in the team versus when he was not in the team of Man United. When he was in the team, they would lose more often. When he was not in the team, they'd win more often. It's just like simple statistics will break it down to prove that he was not a good pickup. However, the money that they paid, A, for his transfer fee, which was still pretty fucking large, B, his like yearly wages and all that stuff, was made back in a day on shirt sales. But there's no way that's happening with. There's no way they're getting 700 grand's worth of shirt sales of Furia
way.
Fallen on the back. You know what I mean?
And
At
they are
least with-
expensive jerseys,
Yeah,
man.
no,
I don't
they're
think
like
that the
90
demographic is
euros.
just gonna. I don't think the demographic is going to be shelling out that much money. Maybe they are.
90
I don't know.
euros,
But
they are 90.
I, I, I don't think it's. I don't think it's happening.
That's
But I
20
guess
to 25 more than a football shirt. No, more, probably
Yeah.
even a bit more. It's fucking ridiculous.
Yeah.
Even football shirts are
I get-
stupid expensive.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I guess we can keep moving.
Everything is expensive.
But yeah,
All
basically,
good.
like his name value is not making his actual value back, unless it is, which I would be so surprised. I don't know if you're a huge fan base, but there's no way. There's no way. Like we don't have the demographic that traditional sports does. Where like Man United are internationally global. The second biggest sports team in the world of every sport in the world. With I'm pretty sure it's Dallas who are number one. Like about money they make and shit. But like Man United are the biggest recognizable sports team in the world, or something. Yeah. So anyway, we'll move on after cooking some shit.
After hating.
Yeah, after hating.
Serial haters.
Let's move on to GAMERS8, which starts tomorrow as of the time of recording. If you're at the time of recording, or of course if you're here on the live stream, if you're on YouTube, it's probably actually live right now because this is gonna go up tomorrow. But yeah, so GAMERS8, Saudi Arabia, $1 million prize pool, 4 days, and it's single elim.
Hell yeah.
Do you know what? I love it. I love it. It's single elim, 16 teams.
I think it's cool.
Single elim, like as much as like maybe like people had a little go at like some of the talent who were saying, "Oh my god, single elim!" Like, yeah, but you're getting paid. We're not getting paid, and it's actually kind of fucking cool. Like, it's gonna be like it's gonna be.
It's something different.
It's gonna be wild, right?
If it was your bog standard long event with double elimination brackets, like it would be just a bit of a slog. At least
Couple of
it's a
Zeds,
bit of
yeah.
a quick fire.
And
Quick
pressure's
fire,
on
cool,
immediately. I think that some of these teams need a kick in the pants just early on. Just
Yeah.
get going. You don't have an extra life. Let's start the ball rolling at this
Yeah.
bracket immediately. And I like that. I do think it's gonna make for some weird results. It's gonna make for some things exciting. It's also studio, I think. At least I was seeing videos of it.
It's not
posted
on
by
LAN?
some players. It is on LAN, but I just don't think
Oh,
that
not like a
they
stage
have.
kind of thing.
Yeah, I don't know if they do. If they do, it's probably
Oh.
like the DC event where it's like
So
not
no
as many people.
crowds?
It's like a smaller crowd. I think.
Okay, okay.
I'm not exactly sure, but the way I saw it, it looked like a studio event
Okay.
more than anything. I think it was mentioned, which would be cool for some rosters.
So
Wink, wink, nudge, nudge, heroic.
are we picking winners then? Are we from the
Yeah,
bracket?
we've got a little bracket here, which
Might as
we
well,
kind of-
yeah.
we can run through, and then see where we land. I guess obviously let's just start top left. Heroic Falcons. I don't really think we need to beat around the bush there. As much as I adore this
love
Falcons team,
They're not ready.
yet.
they're not
just
ready.
not ready.
Yeah, I do think this Falcons team will come through and come true at some point as well. Not yet. As much as we shout on Heroic for actually being beatable, I can't see that being a loss. So I think we all agree that Heroic make it through. Apex Gamer Legion. This one actually a little bit more contested. I'm gonna personally go Gamer Legion.
Same here.
I will pick Apex. I will be the contrarian here. I do think that Gamer Legion showed a lot of great signs. Volt looked really good. Neelan was actually calling pretty well. Like, I was pretty
they seem to
impressed by
trust him.
some of his mid rounds. And that was the most important thing. All the players are respecting his calls out the gates, which is really nice. I just like Kixin's style a little bit more. I think they have a little bit more cohesion. And I like Satsunito a lot. I think that they could
he has so
bring
much
him to new
talent.
heights.
Yeah,
I
if
think
he plays well.
I think
That's the thing.
Yeah, and it's a big if, right? So I think that that's why I'm just gonna go risky here. I'll go Apex.
I'm taking Gamer Legion because, as you say, Cologne was particularly impressive, and in recent times, Apex is like, again, it's a caveat, it's online results, but their results in general haven't been that great overall. That if you look at their last few matches, Cologne, they lost 2-0 to OG, and that's a game I thought they would win comfortably. They played the CCT Online Finals. They lost to VP, fair enough. They lost to Sinners 2-1. And in Thunderpick, they lost to Alternate Attacks 2-1.
Yeah,
in an
that
incredible
Alternate
series
Attacks
where they
one
were 15-6 up on Ancient Map 3, and Alternate Attacks won 19-16. That is a huge choke. So they need to turn the boat around quickly.
Yeah, no, I agree. C9 Fnatic, I think we're probably all in the same boat here, saying the boys in blue.
I think Cloud9,
Obviously,
but I think Fnatic can win that.
Fnatic already did win that, obviously with Buster, but there's a world. I think their honeymoon period has worn off already in my eyes. Dexter looked way readable towards the end of their run, and Afro looked really good, but I think Afro is a very streaky opera, just like Nika does.
I agree.
And I need more time to consider if he's an S tier opera or even an A tier opera at this point.
Yeah.
I take Shiro over him every day of the week. I think they get by off of pure firepower alone.
And also the other side of the thing, you know, we've kind of spoken about it on the flip side about Mao's and how Shuhei is playing well and therefore Torzi's playing well. When Dexter was there, he wasn't playing well, and is that going to affect Afro? Obviously, there's very true conversations in some way about what
Also,
Dexter's like with his AWPers. Dexter just wants to AWP. He may deny it, but you can see it in the server. The second his AWPers dies, the motherfucker picks it up. He just AWP, dude. AWP and call. It's not the most uncommon thing in the world. I like Dexter as an IGL. I just don't like him as an IGL pretending he doesn't want to AWP. But the second the AWPer dies, he picks it up and he wants to use it. It's like, dude, just do both. It's fine. Like, you're allowed. Get a better rifler then. But yeah.
So Fnatic, I will say, just a little caveat as well. They qualified for this event through one of the only 2 open qualifiers. It wasn't even a closed qualifier for this. It was only open qualifiers. They qualified for this event with the old roster.
Oh yeah, of course they did. Yes. Oh shit, I didn't even think about that. You're a smart man, Trav. Shit. I'm gonna go C9. Are we all going C9 for that one?
I'm going C9.
Yep.
Okay.
Good.
Team Liquid Ents.
Ents.
Probably similar
Ents,
vibes,
yeah.
right? Ents.
Ents are now more heroic than a heroic are, in my opinion.
Yeah.
They don't
Yeah,
get
I
upset
can get behind that.
Ents looks so damn good. I mean, they just play. Also,
Yeah.
my boy Nerds, man. Oh my god, looks so
good.
fucking good. He just like
I
that
wanted
clutch
to
on Mirage.
steal that cardboard cutout from Cologne of Nerds. I wanted to take it home with me.
That Mirage like clip he gets when he's like sitting on the ticket. Oh, dude, like he's just so talented. Yeah, I think like alone firepower wise, Nerds just like trumps him. But also, Snappy is making very strong conversations to be the best or one of the best IGLs. Well, no, he already is one of the best IGLs in the world, but making conversations that people are already talking about him being the best IGL at the moment. So
Yeah, I think he's top 3 easily. Right now.
Yeah, I agree. So Ents go through there. We'll jump over to the top right. FaZe VP. What are we feeling there?
I think this is a contested matchup, probably the most contested round 1 matchup in the entire bracket, because I do like what I saw from VP, not necessarily from Mir specifically, but just the roster finally looks cohesive again. Granted, I mean, when you and I casted him, Trav, they looked very tired, and I think they looked good against Spirit. From what I caught from the Spirit game, they looked like they had a game plan, and when they have a game plan, it looks like they have their ducks in a row. That being said, I still don't know. I feel like with the pressure like completely on from game 1, I feel like I might give the edge to FaZe just off of individuals and clutch ability.
Yeah.
And I think that VP still need a little bit more time to make Mir feel comfortable. And until then, I can't really safely put them ahead. I can see an upset happening. I just don't think it would happen here.
I'm concerned. Sorry, I was gonna say I'm concerned about VP in general at the moment as to whether the fact me saying I think they're like sort of back. I think they are back, but there's a lot of things to iron out, as you say. Like, I think Mir has been doing okay, and his like individual skill, like basically any single one of Mir, Flit, and Fame can just run up a ramp on Vertigo and just destroy motherfuckers.
Right, yeah,
like
for
they're absolutely insane. Fame and Flit especially.
The firepower's nuts, right?
However, I'm seeing, especially in the games that we did, Paladin, and then the open qualifier that I followed them for Sydney.
Oh, they look really bad.
They were looking really like their timings were so off. They lost 3 rounds to not getting the bomb down on time on T side. That's classic VP, but it was considerably more worrying by how they looked in those games. And yeah, I think there's a lot of work to do. I still don't know what they're doing with Kicker. They said he was on the transfer list, or they're putting him up for transfer or whatever, and they're still playing with him. Like, I guess Norbert is ill.
So I actually know why. In the Thunderpit game when I finished, we spoke to, when they destroyed Aurora, we spoke to Fame, and we asked him. So that's the point I was gonna make, is that Kicker at the moment looks unbelievable. He looks so good. This is like the best Kicker we've seen in years. Like in the Aurora game, he looked so good.
Enlighten me, Neo.
Yeah, he looked incredible Kicker in the Aurora game, and then in the Spirit game again, he was so clutch. Everything. I think statistically as well, he might have even topped. He was so good for so long. He played incredible. The reason why they're playing with Kicker and not Norbert is because Norbert's broke his hand.
Yes.
Oh, so Norbert's broke his hand. So Fame was like, oh yeah, like when Norbert comes back, we're gonna play with Norbert. So it's like but Kick is like your best player at the moment. Like in my eyes, he was like from the 3 games I watched. I watched a bit of the game you guys did. I obviously casted them against Aurora. They played against Aurora later on that day as well in another series, and then the Spirit game. Everyone Kicker looked like the best player in the server. So it's either like he knows he's on the way out, so he's making a great audition for anybody else. He's kind of maybe like sacrificing his roles a little bit for stats and playing well and just actually fragging well, which he can do. But yeah, he is translisted, and I think the plan is, from my understanding, and from the rumors I've heard in the grapevine, that he is still going. Like they're fielding offers. They're happy to let him go. So Norbert will come back into the roster once his hand is not broken. Which I think is really interesting because I'd rather have Kicker than Norbert personally. But roles, I guess.
Very interesting. But that's what makes me so like, because VP could easily just roll back the clock a little bit and be like the VP we all know. They'll just win rounds with 2 seconds to spare and like just clutch in overtime every single time. But thing is, what makes this game particularly fascinating is that FaZe are known for being a bit like that in big. I'm not saying GAMERS8 is a big event, but like in other S tier events, they're known for never say die attitude and always pulling to the last. So it's a game between 2 teams who are known for taking it all the way. So I think if one of these maps doesn't go to OT, I'll be surprised.
It's going to go 3, isn't it? Regardless, you can make that prediction. Like,
I'll take FaZe though. I will take FaZe.
I want to put FaZe as well. I think VP, while they look really good, the games I cover they look really good. I just think FaZe are a step above. And then also I think they've had a lot more time to really gel. You've got Kicker who's not really meant to be in this roster. Mir, who's just newly introduced. I think FaZe feels like the safer bet. 9 G2. I think again. Probably,
I love 9, but G2.
Yeah, I think we all kind of agree. I'm assuming you are as well.
They came through the second open qual. I casted them making it. They 9. Props to them. There's literally no argument this year, to say that like they are the best tier 2 team. They've qualified for everything. And this was also a very impressive run from them. I'm going to quickly check. Actually, I think they beat Saw in the final.
And Saw they're no sleepy team either. To be fair to them.
Yeah, they beat Spirit, and that was the new Spirit 16-13. They beat Aurora 22-20. I did that game. It was on Nuke. It was a wild one. Kenzie absolutely farmed, but they still lost. And then they beat 1 win in the semi-finals 16-13, and they beat Saw in a bit in the BO3 to qualify. So again, very good tier 2 teams to beat to make it.
Yeah, I think, but yeah, I mean, even in terms of playstyle, I remember this was a big conversation that people were talking about at the RMR, saying that like even when 9 beat them, that 9 style of play is just an imitation of G2, right? Imitation is the best form of flattery, but the real product's gonna come true when it comes down to it, and the firepower will always come true as well. Manessi and Nico are in absolute peak forms right now. They're both in that final.
There's enough of a gap for that to be a hangover as well.
Yeah, wasn't
and,
like
and 9 players are having a dip in individual form themselves.
Goofy's
so
looking shaky.
Even that, and Kylar is not having as big of an impact as of recent as well. So things get really dicey even on that front. And then you look at the veto. Sure, you can get Vertigo out, but after that, you're just kind of overwhelmed with the amount of choice that G2 have. It should be a pretty open and shut case, in my opinion.
Yeah, it looks like 2-0 on paper. Going to our next game is 2 teams that we've shat on for bad roster moves. Na'Vi Furia. I still feel like this one feels pretty easy to call, as much as we shat on Na'Vi. Yeah. I feel like they should take this relatively handedly.
They do look more cohesive than Furia right now.
It's not that hard.
And that's saying something.
It's not that hard, but yeah, you're spot on.
I agree with that. I'll take Navi too. It's one of these games I actually really like. With their old rosters, I loved the Navi Furia matchup. That game at the major will live, like a Rio major, will live long in the memory. But
middle
I think
fingering the crowd.
Exactly. Yeah. Absolute legend.
This is CS:GO. Martin Scorsese.
but yeah, I think, I don't know. It's just a kind of shame that they're both in the state that they are, because I actually think this Furia team, like if K Serato can step it up again, and if he can feel okay in himself after, of course, the tragic news of his father passing away, I think there's room for maneuver for this Furia team to do some work in an event like this, especially in single elim, just to have a few decent wins. But in all the qualifiers we've seen from them, and all the games we've seen from them, they've had nothing at the moment. So Navi at least have still got I've still got recent results on their side. I think it's the obvious choice to say Navi.
Yeah,
And I mean, it's crazy to have that kind of a result when you have Kesar, Yuri, and Cello as your like 3 like fragging
I
core.
love all 3 of them.
And it's just a shame. But
how do you fix Furia, Paladin? What do you do?
I really thought that they would just shell out money to buy Bigazera and things would just work out. Like you could keep safe, you remove drop, and you remove art and you add Bigazera, and you keep safe.
Yeah.
And I think you have a cracking roster right there.
Safe wasn't bad,
but now you plus Bigazera and you plus Zevi. I know save them.
Yeah, and that also works. Yeah, that also works.
Wait, didn't Double Nation just get dropped?
Yes,
yeah,
the Brazilian team got dropped.
Yeah,
Coldzera is now.
Coldzera's free. Who else is on?
Yeah.
Tries
Lato,
NQZ is free.
Yeah, NQZ. Yeah. NQZ's got potential. He's still
Demal.
18 or 17 or 18. He's so young. Like
Lato and Demal are free now as well.
both.
And I guess
really
maybe Taco is a free agent now, so that's also a possibility.
I saw him tweet a clown emoji earlier. Maybe there's something behind the scenes going off there.
Maybe.
We'll see.
Well, they've opted for the JDC roster as a preference.
Yeah.
To the
Bird from
Double
Sky,
Nation.
JDC, Searson.
But like,
sure, man, that team will win things.
It will just be cheaper, basically. When it comes down to it, like those Brazilian guys are probably incredibly expensive. Like in comparison to what JDC and Searson and those lot want. I mean, like. If you got is it Spook or whatever? I mean, he's probably on like pennies in comparison to what like the likes of Coldzera was asking for Taco prior. So I'm sure it's just a money thing, just scaling back kind of thing.
Yeah. You know what's interesting about your point as well is that if somehow Furia beat Navi in obviously we're kind of I'm dreaming here.
Yeah.
But if somehow Furia beat Navi and somehow MIBR beat Vitality, then Drop and Safe would play against Furia,
which would be brilliant. But let's be honest, there's not a fucking
and then you woke up, right? And then you woke up.
Then I woke up.
There's not a fucking chance that MIBR beat Vitality. There's there's not even a competition there. That's going to be an absolute slaughter.
Insani's nearly the same rating as Zyru past 3 months because they're clearly playing
player.
The same amount of same level of teams.
Yeah, and they beat like events. Timberman, they beat like Take Flight, they beat like. Yeah.
Well, I mean, Emirates and MIBR now EU based. They are, right?
Yes, they are EU based now, so they won't be having easy games.
They're playing
anymore,
ECL, I think, right? They're playing EU ECL. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if that's confirmed, but they're definitely not playing NA ECL anymore.
They're playing EU quals,
sure.
yeah.
Oh, quals! They don't even go straight. They don't get the. They've won NA ECL about 7 times in a row now. They don't get the direct invite to EU. Fucking brutal. It's fucking brutal.
No handouts here. No handouts here.
Yeah,
they played that first Sydney qual, I think.
They're gonna lose to Paloma. I can feel it. I can smell it. Paloma, Permitter, whatever that Ignis Serpens, whatever they're called these days. They're gonna beat MIBR to an ECL spot. I can fucking smell it. This is CS:GO, Martin Scorsese.
You love that meme that I made. I actually made that myself.
I love it.
By the way.
I love it. It's so good. It's so good. Right.
Okay, so I guess we can move to the quarters then?
Yeah, back up top left. We've got Heroic. I guess on the.
We'll just go majority.
Yeah, we'll go majority. So Gamer Legion versus Heroic. As much as it'd be funny to take an engineer, I think Heroic take that. Obviously we said that at the major, but I think this time for sure they haven't got.
There's no pressure at this point.
Yes,
like there is no pressure on them whatsoever. I think it's easy.
Exactly. The org needs the money as well, so like they got to do it. They got to help him out. They got to bail him out. Bankruptcy's around the corner, so they got to get some late placements. I feel like Heroic. It feels comfy there. It feels comfy. And even if it is Apex, same argument. Like it just feels comfy. Like it doesn't matter who. C9 then versus ENCE. That's actually a much harder game to call. And actually, every part of me wants to say C9, not just because I'm wearing the jersey, just because of like my belief in this roster.
Though.
Like my belief in this roster is so high. I want to say C9.
I'm just gonna.
My body's telling me yes.
The smart.
I'm gonna be going ENCE.
Yeah,
because I think the main issue is they just get trounced in the veto. Like C9 will pick Ancient, I'm assuming, which ENCE are still really good on.
Yeah,
and then ENCE can go anywhere they want in their pick. Obviously, they can't go Nuke, but they could go Anubis. They could go Vertigo. They could go fucking Mirage. They could go anywhere they wanted, and I think they'd be on top. And then you have to consider that the Decider's also going to be very ugly for them. So that alone, and just the fact that ends have just played together for so long, that cohesion chemistry is why I'm going to take them. Even though there is a world where just Cloud9 bullshittery happens and every player just pops off and it doesn't matter.
Axel
And
drops
whatever
1.4,
facts
like,
and
for fuck's
logic,
sake.
yeah,
Like-
whatever facts and logic I'm throwing at you could just be completely irrelevant. in the
Like even
next,
Electronic, right,
2
wasn't
days.
putting up insane numbers in Cologne, but you'd have these like ridiculous mid rounds where you just
yeah.
where you just pop off and kill 3 people and just
And it's
change the
crazy, right? The
complexion.
mid rounds aren't even like this crazy big. It's just him just popping the
Yeah,
fuck
yeah.
out.
It's like,
know,
oh wait,
yeah.
shit! I used to be a hero rifler for like 6 years. Let me just do that for a
Yeah.
round there.
Do that again.
Right. So Trav, where are you going? I'm actually still gonna stick with C9, but where are you going, Trav?
I want to stick with Salad Clan so badly, but I'm going to take Ents because I
Okay.
want to use my brain for once,
I
which
think
I
that's
rarely
smart.
do. So
Okay. Phase G2. I'm gonna go G2.
Oh,
I'm gonna go
G2,
G2.
unfortunately.
I don't think that G2 is as good as the results say, but
I agree.
I don't think. But at this time, right now, FaZe looked so bad at Cologne.
That's why
like,
I'm going
They're
for
looking
it.
rough.
I mean, that series against Navi wasn't even close, and
Yeah.
that was so shocking to me that I when I saw that matchup, I was like, FaZe is winning this game like 9.5 times out of 10. Like, there is
Yes.
no way that they lose the series, and they looked more discombobulated than Navi did, and we've already spoken about how lost Navi look as of right now. That I just feel like G2 just wins that off of cohesion alone. And I mean, some of these players are just feeling it right now. Like Nico and
Yeah.
Monty are on another level.
MVP Nico Manesi was what 0.01 behind or whatever in the grand
MVP
final.
2, yeah, basically.
Yeah, I mean, when you my thought process behind it is not who's better, it's who's more likely to not show up. And right now, FaZe look shakier. They look a little bit more inconsistent. They just look a little bit rough around the edges. It feels like, I don't know, they just have for a while. It honestly feels like this year they've just looked like that. Like even when you look back to the RMR, them dropping to the LCQ never should have happened. The major itself, you have these conversations. So yeah, I don't know. For me, I just feel like, granted, GT didn't make it, so that kind of blows that argument to a bit out of the water. But I think at the moment, I just think FaZe look a little bit shakier, and if Nico continues that form, he's not someone who really has these massive inconsistent dips in form anyway. This is just looks like what was set in here for Nico for the rest to go at the very least. Which, granted, this is probably most likely looking like it might be the final tournament in Go anyway. Either this or if not, it would be Pro League. But
yeah, I feel like Pro League might be suffering with some half Go, half CS2.
Yeah,
There's a world where that event gets really ugly, man.
I think they got to stick with whatever they start with. They got to stick with. As much as I'm sure ESL would love to be like, oh my god, with the first CS2 S-tier tournament. Unfortunately, I think Blast can take it away from them just because if the game gets released so late, they've got to get to a point where they've got to make a decision. Be like, we've got to do it on, like, the map's not even in the pool yet. Like it's like how are teams pracking now on 2? Like how can they prac?
I don't think they are.
Yeah, they can't.
I don't think you can prac on CS2.
Well, there we go. So like there's just no way unless it gets dropped tonight. It's Tuesday, right? It's a Tuesday. Unless it gets dropped tonight.
It's a Tuesday,
Drop it tonight.
Guys,
they might.
guys, it's fucking Tuesday.
They might drop Inferno. They're gonna drop Inferno tonight, but not the full game. That's my opinion.
Guys. Oh my god.
Yes.
Fucking yes. So unless they drop it like fucking soon, there's just no way they're gonna give teams enough time to prac. And get ready for the tournament. So I think realistically probably Pro League's gonna go as well. But then even still, I just think Nico looks like he's gonna see out Go at an incredible average of like, he's like comfortably looking like the best player in the world is probably not even. Well, it isn't a far shot. I'm not even gonna like.
I don't think that's a stretch.
I don't think it's a stretch at all. He's looking like the best player in the world right now. He got an MVP, but I'm really just trying to get in Kasad and Yanko's good books. But no. But he honestly is just playing like incredible. So I'm gonna go G2. Trav, you're going
G2.
And Annie, you're gonna join. Okay, cool. Then we jump down to Na'Vi versus
Na'Vi
Vitality.
Simple Zywoo.
I think it's my boy. I think Vitality take this. I think they just take it in firepower. I think like Spinks looks so good right now. Like I think he actually just looks.
Flames was
Flames
unreal at Cologne, dude. You know, we were complaining about it in the last. At least I was complaining about it in the last episode that they would have teething issues for just role replacement and having to change up. This guy fits like a glove, dude. Like I think he's so sick. Yeah, and I think as far as like tier list of like Cologne teams go, I have like ENCE, G2, and Vitality like all in that upper echelon.
Yeah.
And I think Vitality could easily jump up a couple of spots if you give them a little bit of time.
Yeah.
Because the maps that they're drilled on, they are drilled on, and they look really, really good. And I think that Navi can't keep up with that in any sense of the word.
Yeah, I think he fits the dynamic in terms of like personalities really well. You can see him as well. He just like he looks comfy, he looks happy. He's got the best. Also, he's basically got the best coach of all time looking after him. Granted, he won't be there though. Zonic's not going to Gamers8 as released today. So I not that I don't think he's going to make a massive. I don't know. I didn't actually read the article, just the headline, but I don't know if anyone's filling in. I don't know.
It's the analyst, I believe. Let me check.
Okay, cool. So like they're still gonna have the analysts will have the same knowledge as Zonic. Matt
Leber.
Yeah,
apparently he's quite highly rated and people quite like him.
He's been there since he's been there on the French roster as well. So
he'll have the same level of knowledge in terms of like knowledge of how this team should be working and what they need to be doing. So I don't think it's like, obviously it's a big loss in terms of I think Zonic's experience would be a huge thing, but granted I don't think this is the it's not major, right? So they're not gonna be like overly stressed.
Not the end of the world.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm gonna go Vitality personally.
Paladin, I'll take Vitality.
You gonna join? Same. Okay. Then back up top left. Now we've got Heroic versus.
Either Cloud9 or ENCE, right?
Cloud9 or ENCE.
Oh yeah.
Oh wait.
Yeah, we went majority ENCE, yeah.
Yeah. Majority ENCE. So it's gonna go. So ENCE versus Heroic. I'm gonna go ENCE as well.
I'll go ENCE.
Cloud9. I'm also gonna go Cloud9 as well.
Screw it, man. It's a semi. They're bound to lose.
Exactly. It's part of the curse. I think ENCE take it. Even if it's Cloud9, I think Cloud9 take it as well. So
it'll be a really good series, though. That's for sure. Yeah. Last time ENCE Heroic played each other in that upper bracket final, really banger 3-map series, guaranteed. Again, map pool overlap is very severe there, so every map that you get there, you're gonna get the best out of both teams. So, but I do think, as you guys say, ENCE is probably the better team here.
Yeah, and we got a potential of a banger on the other side of G2 Vitality. Oh, heater, absolute fucking heater. I personally, I'm gonna go Vitality.
I'm going to go Vitality as well.
My go.
Only because I want to be different. I'll take G2 then.
Okay.
I think right now, since it's not a best of 5, Vitality's map pool. I've been referencing this a ton, but at this stage of the game, with like teams learning to play together, like in a new 5-man lineup, map pool is just so important because that's where you can just get an automatic edge. And I don't think that can be exploited here in the semi for G2. Yeah. I don't think there's a map that I would be like, oh, they should go to this. There's a decider that they'd be edged out on. I think Vitality will win in 3. Again, it'll be a really good series if we get there.
Yeah, if we get that, that's gonna be an incredible semifinal as well.
Yeah.
I mean, realistically, like if we get the favorites coming through, like whatever we get as the kind of final 4 is gonna be like Cologne-esque final 4 in the sense that like it's gonna be so good. And then that leaves a final, right? Oh yeah, sorry.
I believe so.
You want to touch on something in the semis there, Trav?
I just wanted to say that I have predicted like another repeat of Cologne G2 ENCE, but I would actually quite like to see Vitality ENCE, so it's different to Cologne basically.
I'd like to see it as well because
you get a rematch, right? You get a
that like whole like little like obviously they're like best mates. You can see that they know each other so well, but at the same time really kind of cool rivalry. Like Spinks and
Cologne semi again, and I mean that Cologne semi was a banger. Like that game delivered. Obviously, Sun Pius going absolutely massive.
Yeah, we'll take the final is my point.
Right. Yeah. So I mean, either way, if we get that top 4, I'm already happy with this tournament.
Yeah.
Honestly, even if we get like a C9 in there or like you get a Heroic in there, I think you're still guaranteed some fireworks. And with single elim, there's a possibility, right? So, there is a lot of opportunity here for this event to be just bad shit. I think.
This is something that I normally wouldn't have held, but I think it's kind of funny. We've just had an IRL word band like redeemed in chat. So now,
What?
so like this is like what I have normally on my streams anyway. But now for those at home who are watching this later on, we can't say the word cologne for the next 5 minutes. So that was the last time. But I guess we're kind of done with it now anyway. We can
Bastards.
yeah, they got us.
I am Lanxess. I am Cathedral. There you
Yeah.
go. Skirted it.
I am Germany.
I am German.
So yeah, let's say realistically the final then ends up being what, Vitality? No,
Ents,
but
yeah.
so we
Yeah.
do Vitality and then Ents on the other side. Then
I'll take it, yeah.
I'm once again gonna go the GOAT, as I heard.
Yeah, let's just say that's Vitality's title, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's where we come to the conclusion. 2.5 talent. I've gone with Vitality to win Gamers8. Honestly, I don't think that's that outlandish, to be perfectly honest.
Congrats to Furia for winning Gamers
Yeah.
8.
No, I'm saying it now. Congrats to
Looking
fucking
forward to
Cloud9. Cloud9 are winning Gamers8, boys. I'm
Congrats to
telling
Falcons winning Gamers 8.
you. Yeah, they just rig every game.
We're
like-
laughing now. Wait for the
What do you
HLTV
mean?
article.
Oh
What do
yeah.
you mean? Boris Masterclass. All
Yeah,
good.
yeah. It's like, why did they gamble stack A every round? What the fuck is happening? It's like they're just walking onto B. Like, this is so weird. Yeah. I'm gonna go. I still actually, this is maybe like just like delusion for content, but I actually genuinely want to say Cloud9 have a chance of winning it, like unironically.
I know. Well, you were the same with Astralis in Cathedral.
Yeah,
the Cathedral.
close. Yeah.
Um,
I was so sure that Astralis were gonna get to the final. Like I like in my head, I was just like, after seeing them early in the tournament, like before the playoffs, I was like, oh my god, Astralis can win it. Like I was saying, I said it before any of the games started. Trav can vouch for this. I said I genuinely believe Astralis actually have a chance of winning this whole thing. Like that's like. That may sound deluded as fuck, but like they played so
I want to
well.
believe in Cloud9 in the same way. I really do.
Yeah. Oh. Vitality to win it is what we're going with.
Okay.
And that more or less covers everything. We can do a little bit of news, of course. The main one, just one bit of news basically, is the retirement of a true CS:GO legend. Senor Vac himself, FLUSHA, has called it a day. Of course, most recently seen on Eyeballers, which is basically his own project. But you know, a real one. Like you kind of see the outpouring of love today. It was quite cute, actually. You know, a lot of people coming out and being like, "Man, we've lost a good one today." But I think, you know, it was his time. It was his time for him to go. He's obviously massively fallen off recently in terms of the level he's playing at and probably everything else that goes around it. He can probably then now join up with former comrades from Sweden, like sort of Get Right and Olof and all the rest who stream regularly. I would not be surprised to see him doing a bit of content. He's such a name value that he would get a lot of viewership anyway. I mean, Get Right has done so well, continuing his career within CS:GO throughout the streaming. I would not be surprised to see FLUSHA join in some vein. Obviously,
They play with Boomer Demons in those open qualifiers.
yeah, exactly.
Together.
Get FLUSHA and Boomer Demons. You know, that's
Yeah.
a real vibe. You know what I'm saying? But like, boys, we lost a good one today. I wonder. I think it was Richard Lewis had a really fucking funny tweet saying like he's gonna release a book saying if I did it, like in reference to OJ.
Yeah.
That was like that had me like wheezing. That was like so
Such a
good.
good tweet.
Such a good tweet.
I really,
yeah.
I would definitely buy the Robin Ronquist.
If I did it,
autobiography.
yeah. Oh man, funny as fuck. But like, yeah, we lost a good one. I think I've seen
Yeah.
a lot of the clips as well on the under the HLTV announcement of just like you know, insane clips he hit, and man, like they
What
just
would you call his
endless.
autobiography, Neo? Vac or Lifted? Or
Uh,
something?
honestly, you probably have to just live into the name. I think like Senor Vac is like kind of just fits.
That'd be
it.
just, that,
Yeah,
that
Senor
spells
Vac just
copy.
works. Like he
Yeah.
that is like the same way like if Dozy ever did one, it would have to be Sex God. Like it would just have to be like
True.
like or like Sex or X God, whichever way he wants to do it. But I think Sex God's funnier. Like I mean you have to play into the name. So I feel like Senor Vac's pretty good, and I'd buy it. I'd read it. As long as it's not in Swedish, then I wouldn't read it. 'Cause I can't read Swedish.
In all fairness, like this guy has been relevant for so damn long.
Yeah.
When he was on Fnatic from the inception of CS:GO all the way to like around 2018, where they were still winning championships. I tweeted it out, but again, Kato 2018, where they won against Super Team FaZe in the crazy BO5. FLUSHA outfragged Nico with like 120 plus frags, something unreal like that, and had an absolutely insane train. If you guys remember that 1v3, that you have a flank,
I saw a clip of it. Yeah,
win it all.
I think I watched that live.
Yeah, really, really big tournament. And even then, before they went online, they were still like top 3 in the world.
Yeah.
Really, really good. And obviously, post-COVID, as soon as everything came crumbling down for a lot of those players that really needed energy to kind of vibe off of crowds and off of
they
the
won that online
environment of
pro
playing
league,
in the
didn't
LAN.
they?
They did.
Yeah,
Was
yeah.
was that 14 or like 13? Was that the online one?
11.
Oh my
Yeah,
god, even before that, Jesus, wow.
Yeah. But I mean, the fact that a player could be that relevant when even I mean, the thing craziest part is his mechanics weren't even that great. Like maybe 2016 onwards, like it really dropped off a cliff. But he's just such an intelligent player.
So smart.
Yeah, of course, that's where his moniker comes from, because he is so damn smart. It looks like he's cheating, and things like that will definitely sorely be missed. There is not a single player that comes to mind that has the kind of clips that he does.
The best HE player of all time.
Yeah, that is another moniker. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. But this guy is one of a kind for sure.
Yeah, so lost a real treat. I mean, there's some really cool old. I was watching like some old school clips earlier today from like DreamHack Malmo, like real fucking throwback, and he was just like just the most ridiculous stuff he was doing. And like you said, it was just not even the fact that like he was mechanically better than a lot of the players he was coming against. So even like we're talking like old school God French rosters, for example, he was just smarter than them. Like I mean, it's not that easy to say when you've got people like Kenny S in the server, for example. So pretty
he retires a few days after his 30th birthday as well.
He picked a good time as well, I gotta say. He was really on he was on a downward trend. Let's not beat around the bush here. He was, Eyeballers team looked okay when they picked up Pepsol. I thought it was actually a nice pickup. I think he's actually really talented from that Fnatic Rising team. But it wasn't amounting to too much, and probably a lot of effort for very little return. And I really don't think he's probably a monetary person, especially not anymore. I feel like I think I actually probably invested a bit in towards Eyeballers, probably like more the other way. However, if he wanted to, he could actually make quite a lot of money now doing things like streaming, because people would definitely watch that, or like doing I know a lot of the big Swedish broadcasts you see, like Freiburg gets involved with them. I'm sure we're probably going to see him in some way or form do stuff like that. It's not the last we're going to see of him, but we have lost through. He's not the most social media savvy though. I think that's the other side. Like,
no, true.
His fucking retirement announcement was like, I'm just quitting.
The main thing that I think of FLUSHA when I think of his social media presence is the gorilla gif, the gorilla chewing gif in the jungle. But yeah, I mean, it is sad because we haven't really had a huge amount of players who've actually gone ahead with that like retirement announcement, right? Like Neo never did. Pasha,
Maybe Get Right.
Like I think Get Right's the only one I would say, like, because we've had Get Right, we've had Kenny. They both did it at a big event. Get Right did it in Cologne. Kenny did it in Paris.
Yeah.
So FLUSHA's like
Carrigan did it at the CS2 major.
Don't say that, man. No, man.
Nah, he's still got life in him.
But yeah, you know what I mean, right? Like we've had very few big announcements when it comes to the legends retiring. It feels sad. It's a sad feeling because it reminds you that time's moving very quickly, and you have to sort of take a step back sometimes and realize what's in front of you and appreciate it, because these players won't be around for 2 minutes. Yeah, exactly. Tell
that to FLUSHA. Jesus Christ, no wonder he retired.
Yeah.
Frozen Spawn fucking went. I'm calling it, boys. Like, fuck this. Like,
I brought that up. I casted Navi Junior in Thunderpick, and I brought that up, and my co-caster didn't. I think was Sneaky Peeky that day. I don't know.
Yeah.
I brought it up, and I think we both lost it a little bit because he didn't know I was going to bring it up.
It's just
crazy. It really forces you to look inward, and the analogy that I give is, in tennis, obviously Novak Djokovic, Roger Federer, and Rafael Nadal, the big three, would play for so long, and it was always such a treat. But now, essentially, 2 of the 3 are basically gone, and it is a very different landscape. Sure, it's exciting, but it doesn't have that same kind of energy to it. We should all be
Yeah.
very, very happy with seeing Simple, Device, and Nico all in the server, all having
Still,
just
Still,
insane renaissance after insane renaissance. So
I completely agree because Device could have easily fucked off and like for good rather than decided to come back. Nico has somehow managed to keep up his form since the Mouse days. It's just absolutely ridiculous as a rifler. And yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. Like we both echoed it. We just have to appreciate these moments with watching these players. Like you say, we appreciated Nadal and Federer. I'm a big tennis buff, and a bit like you, Paladin. I love that sport. So it feels it deep down. It's like Alonso and Hamilton in Formula One as well. Like I followed those since I was 2007, 2008. So before Frozik was born. Haha.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's just crazy.
I've got a reference the other way that I think probably more people are getting. I'm not a huge tennis or F1 fan. I watch them occasionally, but football, most popular sport in the world. Look at the top 3 now, or the big 3. You got Ronaldo in like Al fucking whoever.
Al Hilal.
Yeah. You've got Neymar who went today to Saudi Arabia as well. And Messi playing in MLS. You got the two the best footballers probably ever. Obviously, you know, Messi is leagues. I'm not gonna get into these leagues above Ronaldo. If you come at me, I'm gonna fucking kill you. But
one league, not leagues. One league above Ronaldo.
Well, I don't know. There's debate. Ronaldo's biggest ever achievement is being compared to Messi. But
let's open this can of worms, guys. Let's get it.
Yeah, don't get me fucking started on football. But no, yeah. But yeah, it's one of those things. We are starting to see. I think this is where you really start to see yourself kind of grow up. Or the other thing, this is like a completely different analogy. Like I was looking at TV shows on like kids channels that like my little cousin was watching, and it was like the shows that they're watching now compared to like when I was watching as a kid, and it was like Yu-Gi-Oh and Pokemon and like just fucking cool shit when I was like a kid and like a young teenager, or like an English one. Trav, you'll know this one. Arthur, fucking banger. Oh my god, every day when I'm walking down the street. Real tune.
Every time you come home from school.
Yeah, Ziggy Marley, Bob Marley's son singing the intro. Just great vibes. Yeah. Probably you might not get that one. That's like an proper English.
No, I got Arthur. No,
Arthur's American as well.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah, Arthur is American. I'm like 90%.
Oh shit! I thought it was English. Yeah. Okay, well, there we go. Me like, yeah, but like
we love Arthur here. Yeah,
Arthur's a banger. But like, yeah, all these like sick like things, and now I'm watching it, and it's like, I think he was watching like one called like Paw Patrol or some shit, and it's like, you know, like, it's just like a completely different vibe to like what we watching as a kid. So like, yeah, like we're just growing up, man.
We're getting really existential here, man.
Yeah, man. I'm about to cry. So it's like, but yeah. So you know, we lost a good one, but like we said, it is not the you know. I don't think it's the last we'll see of him. I don't think he's most social media savvy. So I'm not just talking about the streaming side. I think he actually might just take a chill pill. I think he's definitely more on the introverted side than the likes of Get Right and Olaf and that kind of thing. So I think there's obviously a word in which we don't see him stream as much, but I'd love to.
That's what I was saying, because like Olaf hasn't technically announced his retirement, but Guardian has, right? Like, Guardian was one I think I missed out. I was saying earlier.
Yeah, no, he did from Sampi. Yeah, he did. He called
Guardian. News.
I know I know he's not on Sampi anymore, but I didn't know if he.
I saw a post with like a graphic of him and like a farewell thing. So I'm pretty sure he's retired.
Yeah, but like it's those names like that. You don't necessarily get that many actual like proper retirement announcements. Like I said, Olaf didn't do it. Neo's a coach now, so technically he's not really retired, maybe just as a player.
Yeah.
I think even in an emergency wouldn't surprise me if Neo would step in.
Isn't Olaf still technically under phase? Isn't he still?
I think he is. Yeah, I think he is still.
I'm pretty sure still on the stream. Like it says phase and shit. So I think he's still technically under them. As like a sub. Yeah. Like he gets really registered as a sub occasionally. So
he's benched.
Yeah. So
it really hits the feels though, like when you watch Kenny, for example, retire in his home country as well, his home major, like, and he's not even old. That's the thing. Like he just realized that he did all he could in the game, and like, while he could still play to an okay level, it's not the level that he knows he could be at, and he just couldn't deal with it. So
I really respect people who retire when they know it's right, rather than like carry on for a long time. Like not the shot a little bit. Yeah, fallen. I not shit a little bit, but Guardians are not actually a bad example either. He played on a variety of absolutely wank teams like Singularity, Stampede, all this and that. Trying to give it a go, but it was never going to be what it once was. So I really respect people when they call it day. It's like, you know, when a TV show actually just does like, you know, 3 seasons, but it's 3 brilliant seasons, and then they're like, yeah, that's it. Like, they don't milk it like Game of Thrones or whatever. You know, you have like 3 brilliant seasons like Ted Lasso, just boom, that's it. Nothing wrong with it. Every episode was just great. Bang, bang, bang. Then we move on. It's pretty much better examples. I think Breaking Bad is probably another good one, for example. But again, going off track. But yeah, that's it. Let's finish off the podcast talking about what we've got coming up the next few weeks. I guess probably we'll do one of these maybe early-ish to mid-September-ish. Let's say what have we got coming up to midway point of September? One of you kickstart us.
I mean, Thunderpick's still going. We're all gonna be involved. I think that's pretty safe to say. So look forward to that. I'll probably be a little bit more involved with the NA series that's coming up soon.
Yes, yeah.
And I'm looking forward to that. NA's looking really, really exciting, even though we're in a rebuild period right now. I do like some of these new rosters a lot. M80 is really piquing my interest.
They've already qualified, right? So they won't play again?
Yes.
Right? Yeah.
They already qualified, yeah.
Yeah, they do look good.
Yeah. And then I'll be doing the IMNA Sydney quals with Colexner McHenry in a week's time now. And yeah, I think I have a couple podcast ideas that I'm kind of running through that I don't know if it'll surface now. It might surface later, but there's that. And then, of course, Neo and I have 4-3 as well that will probably come out in a couple weeks now.
When Cole McHenry fucking... well, actually, not he's been moving house. I'll let him off. Trav, what have you got coming up until September?
Yeah, I think probably kind of ditto on a lot of that. Like, we've got the Thunder Pick to figure out. I've got an idea for like a mini series I could do, which I haven't really put forth to anyone yet. It's just in my own brain, so I'm gonna maybe ask you guys, maybe some other people for thoughts on that. We'll have to see how that goes. Yeah, really looking forward to casting my Thunder Pick. I've got another ECL match tomorrow. I believe I'm doing NKT again, so it'll be interesting to see if Grand Faction and Bentec can continue to play well. And I do believe I have a day of Sydney quals as well, probably one of the opening upper bracket game and one of the lower bracket games. So, yeah, very much looking forward to that because, of course, whenever you get a chance to do some IEM quals, it's like basically for us, it's very hard to break into the main events. So when we get to do the quals with some really good teams, that's when you really feel like you're happy with it. Yeah. I think probably next time we might do some sort of pod like this, I reckon maybe will be some review of maybe the first stage of Pro League, for example, because I'm just looking at Pro League now. You've got like Lin Vision are involved, they're going to be playing G2. You've got M80 playing Apex, like all these new teams that we haven't seen in a big event yet. Yeah, looking forward to seeing how that goes.
Yeah, exactly that. And I guess my side, I've got one day of IM Sydney quals. It was meant to be 3, but then it got overlapped because I am flying to Romania for ISF, so International Esports Federation. Like it's kind of like a sort of World Cup essentially. It's kind of the
WSG type thing.
Yeah, exactly. So there's actually some fairly decent names going. I remember like the one last year was pretty weak. I remember specifically it wasn't that great. This one has much bigger names going. Of course, the Romanian team actually looks pretty stacked. Lawanek, Zello, Blitz Sound. BTN actually looks like pretty good. Astralis Talent are going. Of course, they always kind of just show up. Big Academy are going. One Mitre Shaft, looking okay. A couple of the Sinners guys. There's some decent. A couple of the Godsent boys as well for Sweden. There's some fairly okay names going. So I'm pretty excited for that. I'm going to be casting it with Anders as well, which is going to be sick.
That's right.
Just get to see my boy Anders again. Fucking love Anders. He's so funny. So that's going to be good. Hang out with him again. I know Lucy and Brandon as well are doing the female variation on at the same time, so they'll also be out there as well. So that's gonna be cool to see those guys. Doing that, got one day of IM Sydney, maybe one day of like Thunderpick potentially, and then the other one is there's like a UK LAN coming up. UK Prem is actually going back on LAN. So it'd be cool to see how that one, probably by the time we get to a podcast, that'll be done. But that's actually pretty important because the winner of that then goes to national championships, which is essentially what conference is called these days. Both Into the Breach and Endpoint are playing, but it's a new look Endpoint, but also a new look Into the Breach. But new look endpoint for better, new look into breach for worse. So it actually makes it very open to see actually who takes that. Last season into breach was guaranteed to win from the start, basically.
ITB are using Dobbo and Bever, right?
Yes, Dobbo and Bever, yeah.
Ooh.
So it's actually they've brought in good talent. They got Dobbo, who I didn't realize he's still only 19. Like the guy is like he's still young for how experienced he is. He's on Gamer League for like a year and a half, and he's played like fairly decent amount here, there, and everywhere. Endpoint look really good actually at the moment. They Azu pick up. I think I'm a big fan of Slend, who came from House NXT. I'm a huge fan of as well. So I'm interested. That'd be cool. So it's only about 10 minutes down the road from me, so I'm gonna go and at least in some variation watch. Hopefully, maybe even work it as well if I get lucky. Which should be sick. It's 2 days all on LAN for the playoffs, which is awesome. So should be good. I should guess to go back to LAN, which I'm excited for. So yeah, and then Insomnia just as a little like mini gaming festival is always kind of a vibe as well. And there's also Apex Legends happening at the same time in the same like building, so or like next door to each other. So kind of cool. I might even swing by the Apex Legends for a day if I can.
I'm very tempted to go, but I don't think I've got a ticket time, so unlocky. But I might see you in London next week, right? You're
potentially.
around,
I need to check whether I actually end up coming or not. It all depends on whether my school friends can be bothered to plan anything. But yeah, that more or less sums it up, lads. Thank you very much for once again jumping on. This was a quicker episode, but like we kind of went into more detail on fewer topics, which I think actually for me felt like a bit more fun than like doing like a
this was a good episode. I enjoyed this.
I enjoyed this one. It's like much fewer topics, but much more detail, which means much more conversation rather than like a million topics. I'm going to kind of rush a little bit. So maybe we stick to this sort of thing in the future. Keep it sort of roughly about an hour to hour and a half, and then really dial back the amount of shit we talk about. And maybe we can do like more frequent shorter episodes rather than less frequent long episodes, which is what it has been so far. Either way, ladies and gents, thank you very much for watching. I see all the people in chat as well. So, of course, I have been reading your messages. I appreciate the support.
Good night, my lovely.
Jonas, good to see you. Of course, Sam, Clegger, and all the rest. Appreciate it. Thank you very much for the support, for the love. We'll see you all probably early to mid-September at some point. But until then, take care. I'll see you soon.